to the podcast of Paulo Chapa. Evan, thank you for that great introduction.
Absolutely.
So to recap,
Yeah.
the reason of that podcast, we had a very interesting call with a friend of ours, correct?
Yes.
He works at a company called Keighley, and his name is Chris Campbell. So a big shout out. And he mentioned, so he works in a company that does wholesaling. I agree with that.
Yes.
Large audience, and one of his questions was, what happens when one of my contacts reaches a large acreage deal? And how is that different from a residential sale for real estate, a traditional plot or parcel sale, fix and flip, wholesale? We got this very specific request from Chris, and we said, you know what, this is an excellent opportunity to talk about, I don't know how to word it.
To talk about how transactions happen on large plots of land.
Yes, I like that. So welcome to the podcast, How Transactions Happen on Large Plots of Land. That is a great title. I like that title. So first, hydration.
Hydration. Very important.
Okay, that was not Sprite. Oh my God, here are your questions. This is what I'm going to do with your questions. Oh my God. Okay, so first things first. In other podcasts, we explained about wholesaling.
Yes.
And we explain other terms of real estate. If at a certain point there's a term that you guys are unfamiliar with, please post it in comments. We'll be happy to reply, hopefully by next week, and the interest of teaching the public as a community service announcement. Now, the question that was posted by Chris Campbell, who has a very successful wholesaling business and is very different from what we at Aston Wright do as real estate developers. It is a very interesting one. So my guys are out there on the field, and I don't know how many, 1,000 or 1,500, or how many ever people are knocking on doors. Eventually, one of the doors you knock is going to be someone that owns a very large plot of land. So if you're unfamiliar with this, you think it's similar to a house transaction.
Residential single-family transaction.
Correct. So tell me, what are the terms on a contract that you can think of? Like, this is not a quiz, but what would you think of?
Yeah, so typically with residential single-family, you close within like 90 days.
Oh, that's even long. 40. You're trying to do 45, 30. Right. You go 90 if you have a loan in place or something like that. But yes, you're right. So continue.
Short terms. There's an inspection period.
Correct. And an inspector actually visits the property.
Exactly. There's you do comps of land nearby, appraisals.
Not land. We're talking about residential.
Oh, sorry, residential. You do comps of houses nearby to figure out what it's worth, and then you go through with the property.
Right. So that is correct. I'll add by saying you have some amount of money on escrow that is significant, and as a market in general, it's a market that is very liquid. It has fluidity. I could be looking at your property as a buyer, and then the wife or ex-wife, but the partner says, oh, I like this other one better. Get out of contract. Get into contract. Yeah. So that happens often. Okay? And because of that, because you could change your mind, then the seller is at risk during this tie-up period, for lack of better sense. You have it on the contract. You can't sell it to anybody else. You cannot increase the price. Somebody can offer you more money. You can't do anything. And the reason why you can't do anything is because there will be no way to actually have anything done. If you're starting to spend time and money and effort into making sure that the house was everything you thought about, and then within the inspection period, you can get out, keep your escrow, and even beyond the inspection period, you would potentially lose your escrow if you decide to back away.
Absolutely. And also, houses are more of a emotional investment, not a financial investment.
Yes.
Where large plots of land, it's seen as more of a financial investment, not because you actually want to live there, because you like the way it looks.
Correct. And first, let's make clear, there's always the 1%. If you have 100 plots of land, yeah, you have 1% that is up in the mountains, you're not going to do anything with it. There's another 1% that is used for cows and pasture. And then a certain percentage, I won't say one because I don't want my math professor to be angry at me. But it's a percentage that is just going to be woods for hunting deer. Now, because those pieces of land cannot be used to anything else other than woods, then their value is woods, and it's a very low value. So let's start by saying a little bit of that. Now, if for some reason, no, this plot of land, maybe it's kind of flat, and I can take the wood out. So the price might increase a little.
For timber, is that what you're referring to?
Timber, correct. Yeah. Thinning, timbering. If it's a specific farm and the farm is producing, okay, now the cash flow is what it's worth, so it starts to increase the value.
So what you're saying that the land is worth what you can do with the land.
Correct.
So land by itself is not really worthless.
The land by itself is really worth whatever it's zoned to be and whatever you can create value directly. So let's be more specific. In the question that was posed to us by our wholesaler friends is, how much is a piece of land worth? And we immediately make the assumption, I'm going to build a shit ton of houses, or I'm going to build townhomes, or I'm going to create apartments. We have some clients of ours that have begged us to please build a senior living facility on X many acres. You remember that conversation?
I do remember.
Yeah. So, and it's like, oh, it's going to be so pretty, and they're going to walk. It's like, why do they have this dream? Because intrinsically we understand, well, once it's built and it's filled with renters or owners, doesn't matter, then the value increased, and therefore I can extract some of that value today on my sale. Okay, so we all intrinsically understand that. If for some reason there was a need to put a skyscraper, New York style, in the middle of Kansas, and I'm sorry for all Kansas viewers, but this is just an example. It could be the middle of Oklahoma.
Middle of nowhere.
Well, Kansas is somewhere, but yeah. Middle of Montana, wherever, rural land.
Yeah.
Would you build a skyscraper?
Well, no, because it would be very hard to fill a skyscraper full of people.
Correct.
If there are not jobs to support those people that want to live in the skyscraper.
That's correct. And an easier answer is it will be easier to build houses one next to each other to accommodate the same amount of people that you would do in a skyscraper. Skyscrapers are expensive. The only reason why you do them is because the plot of land is very expensive. So we've established several things. First, it's a different market than residential. And we're talking large acreage. What is large acreage? Anything above 20 acres, 30, 40, and obviously above 100. So it's very different. That's the first. Second, it is not worth anything but what it's zoned to be. So if the current zoning that you have is R2 residential, so basically for 1 acre I can only put 2 properties, then figure out how many properties you can do, and that's what it's worth. It's very simple. The math doesn't lie. Now, If you can build 20 units in an acre, well, that starts to sound like a lot higher density. And if the area where you're trying to do this applies to it, then it's going to be worth more. Again, intrinsically, we know this. I'm not saying anything new. There's no hidden magic here. We all understand that. If you own a plot in the middle of New York, close to Central Park, and it doesn't have any type of restriction, so you could build it up
as high as you want.
That plot of land is so expensive. But chances are the plot of land, it is not zoned to be on that super high density, and you don't have the permits, and therefore you can only sell it as a basketball court, not as this potential. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about the differences from residential, and I want to keep it as short and sweet as possible. You mentioned, so escrow. What is, and you mentioned terms, and you mentioned inspection period on residential.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you, what have you seen are the biggest issues we find when somebody is offering us as real estate developers a plot of land and they do not understand anything about real estate development? They only understand residential. What are the biggest blocks that we've seen?
They have a very hard time valuing the land.
Right, that's one.
Worth.
Yeah, that's yeah. They say, oh, it should be gazillions of dollars, and for no reason, just because they bought it for $100,000,
right?
And suddenly, magically, in less than a year, it's worth $5 million.
Right.
That is not the case. That is worth $100,000 plus maybe 20%. Like whatever you bought it, that's the price.
Yeah.
It's not the price of the gazillions. You didn't win the lottery. No, because I can't build anything because it's probably zoned for something else. What else have we encountered as issues?
Other issues have been people wanting basically to purchase the property immediately without waiting for
right
years.
Exactly. So the biggest thing is they need to understand that if the property is not zoned for that highest and best use, in some areas of the country they say highest and most valuable use, then you cannot use it for that. And just like whoever owns that property does not like to lose money, neither any real estate investor. So real estate investors, real estate developers, real estate builders, we're not dumb. Like, we are experts. We've done this over and over for many years, and we've seen hundreds and hundreds and thousands of deals or thousands of plots of land. We are not in the business of putting money on escrow to lose it. We're not in the business of, well, let me start to see if I can change the zoning without having the property under contract. Because once the zoning is done,
then it's worth something.
Then it's worth something, and I am not in it because I don't have it on the contract. So that is the biggest discrepancy. Whoever just purchased that land, and it doesn't matter when I say just, it could be just 10 years ago. It could be just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In land that's very small. You have land for a long time, it's 50 plus years, which many of our clients...
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years. So long ago, they have problems finding the title because the last deed was not scanned ever, and I don't know, there were not fax machines when they bought it, and like so much stuff that happens after 50 years of not moving the property. That's on a whole other podcast about titles. But so that's the biggest thing. Thinking, oh, I killed it because I bought it so low, and now I'm gonna kill it again because I'm gonna find a sucker to give me all that money for no reason. Like, no. Why would you develop the property? Why would you invest?
To make more money.
Exactly.
That's the only reason.
And you would not invest even $10,000 to put the escrow on the property if you still have to invest 50, 100, 150, or $250,000 in the whole process, entitlement, zoning, call it whatever. It's engineering, surveying, soil studies, rock samples, legal, everything that is required to know that I'm not going to start developing and suddenly hit rock.
Yeah.
The studies to understand, okay, what's it going to cost me to bring sewer to the property? How far away is my water? Maybe we have electrical to the property. Maybe we don't.
Maybe it's septic.
Maybe it has to be septic. Therefore, my lot size has to comply with a minimum amount for that city, for that county. And by being septic, that adds whatever number you add. Some people say 5,000, some 15,000. It doesn't matter. My house price is going to be increased by that additional cost of septic versus sewer. And whoever is developing the property has to make calculations to understand, okay, I'm going to bring sewer from a mile away. That, okay, damn it. Like, how do you...
it's going to cost a lot of money.
It's going to cost so much. So you're forced to do it on septic. And now that forces all your potential homes to go up. And that ties in, well, if I still need to make some money, and therefore I can't pay you as an owner any more than X, Y, and Z. Like, all those factors dial into the property. But let's go, again...
Go back to escrow?
To the points of difference. The points of difference is, we're going to sign a contract.
Yeah.
It might not have a lot in escrow. Sometimes it's zero escrow. You could have $1,000. Technically, to be a valid contract, you don't even need to put $1 in escrow. What you have to say is the purchase price. So the element of interest, and there's a specific legal term that escapes me right now, but the element of the transaction is the purchase price, not the money that was exchanged. If it was that easy, then you could say, oh, well, you gave me, let's go back to residential.
Right.
You gave me $5,000 in escrow. Here's your escrow back. Mm-hmm. I'll do a deal with somebody else that's offering me more money. You can't do that. You can't give the money back. Therefore, the amount on escrow on this big lot of land, it's the same thing if it's 0, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000. It doesn't matter. The reality is that the developer or developer builder, they are going to be spending a lot of hours and money into being able to pencil all the numbers of how much it's going to cost to develop. And again, the first thing is getting a big survey that for 100 acres, it could be up to $50,000. The rock studies, soil test. In the case, and I know you love this, in the case that you are doing septic, to make sure you have percolate test.
Yeah.
We have a couple of stories about it. So you have to do all these studies. So if I'm about to invest $100,000, that I will, at the end of them, I might not see them back. Because then I take all this information, take it to the city or the county, ask for zoning with my project, and the project can get denied. And once you deny a project, in most cities and counties, you have to wait anywhere from 6 months to 18 months before applying again to a change of zoning.
So that hurts not only the developer, but also the owner. Or
it hurts everyone. Everyone gets hurt if this is not done proper, because now you're in the cooler. Like, oh, sideline. Everybody will start getting projects around you. They will learn from the mistakes you did. And then your neighbor that also has 100 acres, they'll do it differently. And they will probably get it passed.
And they'll probably make more money.
But why? Because they would be patient. Mm-hmm. Because they allowed this 6-month process, which is minimum of 6 months. But that's how you normally tie a property. It's 6 months to a year. Sometimes it takes a year and a half from start to completion. And they will allow somebody that understands the specific county, the specific needs of that people, or that has the relationships with the engineers on that area, with the lawyers in that area, to get it all done. So a very normal contract for large acreage is 6 months
To a year.
to a year. So
And also there's extended periods where you can extend the contract for.
why are there extended periods?
There are extended periods for, let's say you're in town meetings and you're trying to get it zoned, and something comes up due to politics or due to whatever, or there's some problem with the property that you were unaware of that
Correct.
now needs to be resolved.
And sometimes it's as simple as, like, somebody in the city council, like, didn't go to the meeting. He had a cold, so he was not available. Oh, we can't get a full vote. We need to wait. So you got everything ready. You just spent $200,000 on this maybe $1 million property that the owner bought for $200,000, and he wants to extract $1 million out of it. And you're saying, okay, I'll pay you the $1 million because I know that by building houses I'll make my money in the build. But in the meantime, I need to get it zoned. I've already done my survey, got my engineers, got like soil studies, everything. And then somebody has a cold. Do you think I want to waste my $100,000 at 6 months' time because I got
The contract
deferred?
is about to end.
Of course not.
No.
You can't. You can't. Like, and maybe if you're in the business of, I don't know, being North Korea, and I don't know who to say, but if you're in the business of being a dictator where things are not fair, then I don't care, whatever, like, okay, so that's not a proper transaction. A proper transaction is you're both together because you understand that by creating this relationship, you're both going to make more money. I have a vested interest in making sure that your property gets through zoning because otherwise I don't get the investment back that I already put into it. I don't want to lose it.
And also, let's say the contract ends and you were so close to the finish line. You're right there at the finish line. And the owner is like, well, the contract's up. I got another developer that wants to give me 2% more.
Whatever it is.
I'm going to sign with this guy instead. What he doesn't realize, or the owner doesn't realize, is that now it's going to take another 6 months to a year
Correct.
for the new developer to come in. And now the owner doesn't realize that they are potentially losing out on money on the table, even though that they're getting slightly more.
Correct. So that extra 2%, that extra whatever percentage could mean another 6 months to a year. Because now the new developer
Has to redo the whole thing all
has
over.
to start from scratch because developers do not share that information. Why would I share for somebody else to make money out of the $100,000 that I just spent? Now, that's just the name of the game. And that developer has to go to these meetings, has to go to all the town halls, has to learn the players, has to, again, make sure he's making everyone happy. You're just delaying it for a very small percentage. So it's better to, at that time, let's say you are at the end of your 6 months and you had some increases because all the contracts have some way of extending, period, all of them. A maximum extension would be 18 months. And even then, you say, okay, well, let's agree to this so we can extend more. Within the first 6 months, you know if the property will make sense. But then right after, sometimes it's literally out of your control. And you haven't been, I mean, we've worked for about a year, you and I, but there's been many instances like that I've done over the years where even when you have a friendly council, a friendly city, progressive people, everybody likes you.
And everyone wants to develop.
And everybody wants to develop your specific property how you say it does, you get delayed. And each delay, it's just more money sunk into the project because everybody has to have a look. If the architect, the engineer, whoever, they have to take another look at your project when it was already done, they will charge you an extra $5,000, $10,000, $500 an hour, whatever it is, just to take a look again, because I thought this was done. Well, no, now we need this, or we got delayed for whatever. This particular document ran lapse. Like we were looking at this property that has a will serve letter for sewer.
Right.
In
There's
an
a
unnamed
timeline.
in an unnamed county in Georgia, and then when we were looking at the fine print, it was like, holy crap, this is about to run out. And then the whole project would go down.
Now we have to reapply for sewer.
Right. Which, thankfully, they were very friendly with us and say, sure. The whatever happened to that project, I wasn't anticipating. I'm so happy that they were so friendly with us. Anyway, call out to, if you're looking at it, thank you so much for those 300 sewers, sewer doors. Anyway, thank you for extending that letter. You know who you are. We appreciate you. Appreciate you so much.
There's a thing going on over there. It just stopped recording.
There you go.
All right.
So, anyway, so we are at 27 minutes.
Okay.
Let's bring it back to the basic, which is, I'm a real estate guy.
Yes.
I'm an agent,
Mm-hmm.
and I find somebody that has this large acreage.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you.
That's not too bad.
Oh, it's full. So this
Oh,
one
okay.
is full. So we go with that one. So you're a real estate agent.
Yep.
You find this large acreage. If you were that real estate agent and you found this, what would you do?
I would.
First of all, what would a normal real estate agent do?
A normal real estate agent would get a price for it, try and find comps, and then throw in the MLS. Hope for the best.
Not even, because I don't like the MLS is really not well targeted for 100 acres. But even
That is what a real estate agent would.
yeah. But that's it, and then that's gonna go nowhere.
Right.
Whatever, because that's not how we find land.
Because it's not even going to be priced.
But they will probably put it under contract on a realtor's guide, and then he's asking questions like, "How many bedrooms do you have in this 100 acres?" Well, 0. Oh, so is the roof more than 10 years old? There's no roof. Like even the contracts that are on available for real estate agents are just different than the ones we use. Now, the best thing they could do is saying, like, they need to start partnering even before they show. If you're a real estate agent, you find this person that has large acreage.
Yeah.
Is you need to find someone you trust to create a finder's fee agreement for a specific property. You sign a non-disclosed contract or a non-compete contract before you partner them with that person. You make sure that that non-compete and non-circumvent agreement is for the next 5 years. Any deals that these two people that are gonna do for the next 5 years, they need to include you in.
Yeah.
This is perfectly legal.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time, regardless if you're a real estate agent, you don't know this, you should know, and we're happy to educate people about it.
Yeah. You're more than welcome to send an email or
send
whatever.
us an email, call us, or send hate on, I don't care, whatever they want to comment, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because we can show them how. A 3% fee for just being a finder, sure, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's very doable. And then the contract that will be set in place, again, is very different because it doesn't need to be this 45-page contract. It will be 2, 3, 4 pages at max, and it will have this 6 months, it will have extensions.
It'll have refundable escrow.
It will have a refundable escrow. There's no matter what. A lot of real estate agents get really hung up because they want to make their money on somebody losing their escrow or somebody getting hurt. That's not how it works. You partner together because the real estate developer requires the owner to keep signing documents on their behalf for the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So it is this symbiotic relationship where it has to happen that they dance in cooperation. Now,
Also, another thing is that the extensions are also typically refundable. You're not in the business of giving up money for extensions.
and if you think that you have a contract that says that those extensions are not refundable, read the contract again.
It's in the details.
It's in the details.
It's there.
It's right there. Now, I don't like I'd rather be upfront about it and tell people. A lot of my peers that do real estate development, they like, no, you can keep it, whatever. And
It's
they,
all lies.
and they leave it up to the individual person or their attorney or somebody to find out. And even they would think, oh no, it's clear here. No, believe me, they'd rather pay $2,000 or $3,000 to another lawyer to get the money back, because nobody's in the business of losing money if the whole deal was declined by the city or the town. So that is the main thing. I'll give you a different example of how it's different from residential. So would you buy a house or a land lot that is clean, it has nothing, and it only has trees, and it was like, oh no, but pay me $1 million
Right.
without the house. I'll give you the house for free. It's like, no. Like, who's it? Of course not. Put the house on top, and then I'll buy it. It's the same thing for zoning and permits and buffers and all this stuff that we try to do efficiently.
So if I am a wholesaler or an agent, when do I get paid in this process? How does that work?
So if you're a wholesaler and you want to focus on being a finder for a real estate developer, let's make sure we're using our language correctly, because wholesaling is one thing. There is a signature of a contract. It stays like it's just paper. Let's say it like it is. And then you found the buyer,
Yep.
and you have an A to B and a B to C transaction or something that looks like that.
Yep.
And then you get paid when? When the transaction closes. The same happens with this, but because the distance from signing a contract and the closing is so far away, you're creating this pipeline of deals. Let's say you focus on big land. Okay, well, we're happy to focus with big land with you, and
Yep.
we'll help you develop as many you can bring to us. That's fine. And you start developing this pipeline of very large deals that you would get your 3% for. By the way, 3% to you. You don't even need to include your broker. This is you as a private citizen of the United States creating a contract with an entity that is thanking you for your marketing service. This is perfectly legal. You're not violating any real estate laws on anywhere in any state, period. And what you do is you generate this pipeline of big lump sums that you're going to see in the future. But you need to understand that in order for those lump sums to happen, you need to convince your seller that this is how the game is played. It's not a game, it's a business, but this is how the business works.
Yep.
And if they are far removed from that business and they don't get it, then the property is going to sit there for 6 months. 6 months in which you could be potentially doing something to generate that revenue and that payback that you did in 6 months to a year. But they don't start the process because, magically somebody's going to come and pay me all these millions
Yep.
for something that I paid very little. So I struck luck, and then I'm going to struck luck again. Some rich dude that is an idiot is going to buy it.
Right.
Like, no. If they're rich, by definition, they shouldn't be complete idiots. Like,
So let's talk very briefly about what is the mentality of people that own land and what are they trying to accomplish. So when you have a piece of land, you have to pay taxes on it,
yes.
regardless if it makes money or not.
Correct.
So the mentality, from my understanding, is someone buys a piece of land and they're speculating, speculative asset, that it's going
Correct.
to be worth more in the future as development comes out around the property.
100. So if you buy land with the intention of being my retirement, then you buy it in the areas. Again, this is not rocket science. You can see how this happens. So you're in a county that is growing, or you go to the next county over, and then you buy that land, and then you wait.
20 years, 40 years, 60 years.
You're all the way until your retirement. You
Yep.
forget that you have it. You keep paying taxes on it because it's not gonna. Otherwise, the government will take it from you. And then one day, your great grandchildren will be millionaires. But by the way, we know some of those people that they're 90 years old, 80 years old, and They bought property when they're in the 20s and 30s, a lot of property.
A lot.
Like yeah.
So much property.
Yeah. So much. It's incredible. But and then some people are starting to buy into that game. Some people are in their 20s and 30s. They happen to have a great job that whatever it is, software or lawyers or this, and they feel compelled to invest in land. So the right thing to do is wait. And if for some reason you're like, no, I want to cash now because I want to go live in Tahiti, or
Right.
that's fine. But then to cash out now means to start the process today and then wait until a year and a half. It's about a year. Like we keep saying 6 months, it's really a year. But we try to make it in 6 months. The sooner it closes, the sooner I can start making money.
Yeah.
Because I don't make money until everything gets done. And then you have houses and roofs and people are sitting there smiling, and that's the name of the game. So you have to understand the points of exit of each one of the phases, and at what point, well, you're forgetting about it, but now that I know that I will be able to zone this properly, okay, there's no impediment. By the way, I've seen deals die even after that. So I've seen deals where there's no impediment, everything's good on paper, you pay the owner,
Yep.
and then the sewer people come back and it's like, oh, oopsies, we made a mistake, we don't have any sewer for you. That is not the responsibility of the seller. This is why I constantly mention this is a big game. If you're starting on this and you have no idea what's going on, you may lose 2 out of 3 deals that you do. And I mean lose 100,000, 150,000. If you're experienced, sometimes you lose 1 out of every 5 deals. So if you're experienced, you need to constantly keep doing this so you offset unforeseen events, acts of God, call it whatever, that do happen, that force you to, well, no, now it's stuck. Or I have a negative vote for whatever reason. Negative vote.
Yep.
Dude, I've already invested all this money.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You're done. Like that money's not coming back.
Yep.
So yeah, it's big leagues, it's big game, and it costs money to have a mistake. So if what you're looking for is to sell your land quickly, or you're a real estate agent or a wholesaler that found this big land, just give us a call and we'll tell you how to do it. The contracts are different. The rules are different. We really want to help you. If you found this land by happenstance that happened to be 200,000, 300,000, you think it's worth $1 million, we're happy to give you that $1 million. We'll give you a market price, whatever it is, the market, for that specific zoning. And that's the name of the game. Because otherwise, you're so adamant of getting paid today by
doing that, you're hurting yourself.
You're hurting yourself.
And you're gonna lose the whole deal.
Moreover, the fact that, and you and I, you already know how to notice this, when somebody's calling to offer us a property, and they're just like, no, I want the escrow to go hard in 15 days.
It's like it doesn't.
Like the city won't pick up the phone in
15 days.
In 15 days. Like we've been talking about this sewer example of this expiry of sewer for the 300 units.
I've been trying to contact this
A
one
month?
for
More than a month?
Taking a month just to get a phone call, just to get an email back.
We're so very thankful. Thank you so much.
So much.
Yeah, she was sick. She was in Chicago, and doesn't matter. Thank you so much. 300 units, but yeah, we prayed to the unit God. So that's the whole point. The whole point is that they need to understand that they have to have this reaction. Somebody's like, oh, by the way, I have 40 acres. The first reaction should be, oh my God. Because 2 things they would need to be true. They're out of their element, and they have to accept it quickly. And the payoff is not going to come now. They have to accept it quickly. And if they give the wrong expectations to that seller, everybody gets hurt. We also have had examples where it gets into a residential contract that the real estate guy expires in 45 days. So their representation of the big acreage expires in 45 days. And then on top of that, they sell it to a wholesaler, the wholesaler to another wholesaler, and another wholesaler, and then they give it to us.
And it's a giant chain.
And nobody knows how to negotiate on this. And we've had to tell people, it's like, okay, I agree to paying you like whatever percentage once we close in a year and a half to and the percentage is 0.1, by the way, or $5,000. But give me your source. And then we do that 1, 2, 3, 4, so we can talk finally to the owner and then know what the hell's going on, because otherwise it's just a big game of telephone, because nobody understands big game and big acreage. So again, we're happy to help. We're here.
It's also really bad when an agent or a wholesaler goes to the owner and says it's worth, billions of dollars, gazillions of dollars,
Yeah.
and they don't understand it's only worth that because of the potential of what you can do with it.
Correct.
And then every developer after that tries to come in can't make a deal with the owner because the owner is skewed on their perception of what the market can do.
There was a deal we passed, and I know we're on time, so we should wrap up soon, but there was a deal we passed on. A wholesaler offered it to us for $6.5 million. And we immediately like, dude, that's worth about 3. But I'm not even, and it was our mistake not to say, this is what it's worth, here's the offer.
Yeah.
And then we saw it out of contract from that person that had it, but directly in contract with another developer that went around the wholesaler to talk to the owner. And the final contract was right on the money of what we thought was worth, $3 million.
Right.
So we're not in that business. We're not in the business of bypassing everybody. We're happy to sign non-circumvent, which is the most important.
You make an excellent point. That is a tactic that a lot of developers will do, is that they will go double what it's worth, get the owner excited, and then on the 11th hour, cut it in half.
Which we saw happen with, in this other example with these guys that went out of contract. Because a lot of guys, yes, I agree to whatever, and then, we've been working together for 6 months, the payout is so close, is this or nothing?
Yeah.
And
if you don't do this, we
and
somehow sabotage it, and you'll be locked up for another 18 months.
You bring an excellent point. So an unscrupulous real estate agent or real estate developer or person could tie up your property for no reason whatsoever in spite. And while you clear that tie up by doing perfectly legal things to tie it up, now you wasted 6 more months, a year, while everybody sues everybody. And in the meantime, oops, sorry.
My
bad, here it is.
Yeah.
And you should know that there are builders and developers that are in the business of doing that. Why? Because they're developing next door, and you might not even know about this. So they might be tying you up just to make sure that you do not build for another year and a half on that area. So they can clear all their inventory and then come back to you, which now you've been like, well, I really was counting on this money, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'll take a discount. Again, that's not the business we're in. This is not what we do.
We're not predatory like that.
I can't, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So if you have a question, give us a call. If you know Chris Campbell, he's the man. Again, Evan Ernst, Pablo Chapa. Thank you. I should say Evan Ernst.
Evan Ernst, Pablo Chapa. Doesn't matter.
Thank you. So this is a Pablo Chapa podcast, and thank you so much for listening.